Now, when it comes to found footage horror movies, I am not the biggest fan, but I do like your Paranormal Activities, Hell House LLC, Wreck, As Above, So Below. Those are just a few of the mainstream found footage movies that I enjoy. But here today, I come to bring you 5 sleepers that you must absolutely check out if you love found footage horror movies. If you landed on this page, make sure you hit that subscribe, tap that like button. Let's get into it. First up, we have The Medium. This one is creepy. It latches onto your nerves and doesn't let go. It's set in the beautiful place of Thailand. But don't be fooled, this isn't just another possession movie. It's a dark, deeply unsettling exploration of faith, tradition, and the horrifying secrets that can fester within families. Nim is a shaman acting as a vessel for the goddess Bayan and is drawn back into her family's orbit when her niece Mink starts acting weird. And no, I'm not talking about forgot your keys weird. I'm talking about staring off into the void at 3 a.m. weird. Look, she's out here catching centipedes like snacks, doing full-on zombie stares, and just causing full-on mayhem. Naturally, everyone assumes Bayan must be making her the next shaman. Seems like a reasonable guess, right? Well, you're wrong. What's fascinating here is how this film plays with family dynamics. Nim wants to help, but her siblings are not exactly on board. There's tension, old grudges, and the good old family denial in the face of obvious horror. Meanwhile, Mink is probably upstairs levitating off her bed, but sure, it's just a phase. The deeper Nim digs, the scarier things get. The film's brilliance lies in its use of folklore, religious rituals, and the clash between belief and fear. You're constantly second guessing what's real and what's paranoia, which makes the scares hit even harder. The director's pacing is methodical. Perhaps it's a bit slow at times, but the tension creeps up on you like a shadow you didn't notice in the corner of your room. If you're a fan of slow burn horror movies like Hereditary and The Wailing, you'll feel right at home with The Medium. It's a movie that refuses to spoon feed you answers and instead leaves you with chills long after the credits roll. Sometimes a movie doesn't need a big budget, jump scares, or flashy effects to terrify you. Leaving DC, written, directed, and starring John Chris, proves that sometimes all it takes is a lonely house in the middle of nowhere, a creeping sense of dread, and your own paranoia to scare the living shit out of you.
The city, getting away from the crowds and that terrible traffic and the nasty people and the car horns and the frantic pace.
Mark Klein has spent 20 years battling the chaos of Washington, D.C., and quite frankly, he's had enough. He's ready for a simpler, quieter life, so he moves deep into the remote, forested wilds of West Virginia. He's got a house far removed from any neighbors, surrounded by trees that seem to stretch endlessly. It's the perfect place to decompress and find peace. Or so he thinks. Mark starts sending video updates to his OCD support group to stay connected and share his new experience. At first, the clips are exactly what you'd expect. Awkward but sincere recordings of a man adjusting to solitude. So he shows off his new surroundings, talks about isolation, and makes small talk with his virtual audience, but things slowly start to shift. A creak there, a sound here, and a shadow there. Chris smartly leans into the power of minimalism and psychological tension. You never know exactly what's real and what's in Mark's head. Is there really something lurking outside of his home, or is it just his mind playing tricks on him? This movie doesn't spoon feed you answers. Instead, it lets tension simmer and build through small, unsettling details, a camera angle lingering a few seconds too long on a dark window, strange noises caught on audio recordings, or an unexplained phenomenon Mark tries to rationalize away. And as the viewer would put in his shoes, experiencing every eerie sound and every creepy moment of dread right alongside him. The film doesn't really rely on traditional horror tropes like supernatural entities or violent threats. Instead, the story digs into primal fears: the fear of being alone, of being watched, of losing your mind in a place where no one can hear you scream. It's a deeply personal horror where the antagonist might be the environment itself, or perhaps Mark's own spiraling mental state. In the end, the story leaves many unanswered questions, which might frustrate you if you're expecting a neat resolution. However, the ambiguity is precisely what makes this movie stick with you long after the credits roll. Ultimately, Leaving DC is a haunting exploration of isolation, mental fragility, and the terror of the unknown. It's a story that forces you to confront your own fears of truly being alone and the possibility that solitude may not be as peaceful as you think.
Can't really think of anyone who actually has escaped, but that's just what I'm doing now.
Found footage horror movies have been around forever. They've given us eerie nights with the Blair Witch Project, left us wondering about weird home break-ins with Paranormal Activity, and now we have Justin Barber's Phoenix Forgotten. This is a UFO mystery flick that combines alien conspiracy theories with some classic things gone wrong in the desert tension. The movie kicks off with a story about Sophie, a woman revisiting her hometown of Phoenix, Arizona. She's investigating the disappearance of her brother Josh, who went missing 20 years ago alongside his two friends, Ashley and Mark. What happened to them? No one knows, at least until newly discovered footage sheds light on their final hours. The film then cuts back to 1997 when mysterious lights, the infamous Phoenix Lights UFO sightings that made headlines, lit up the skies. Josh is an inspiring filmmaker who becomes obsessed with uncovering what caused those lights. He ropes Ashley and Mark into a trek out in the Arizona desert hoping to find answers. And you already know where this is going. If found footage has taught us anything, it's that the people holding the cameras are doomed. One of Phoenix Forgotten's biggest strength is its authenticity. The found footage style feels genuinely retro, from the grainy VHS footage to the awkwardly sweet banter. The film nails that 90s aesthetic. There's a kind of quiet eeriness that builds throughout their journey. The vast, empty desert becomes its own character, isolating and suffocating. You can almost feel the dread creeping in as they get closer to, well, something that is not right. At first, the trip feels like an adventure. The friends joke around, interview some locals, and explore the eerie desert. However, as they spend more time out there, strange things start happening. They start hearing unexplainable noises at night and catch glimpses of something moving in the distance. The tension builds as the desert begins to feel increasingly hostile. I like that the film plays on the idea of the unknown. Did the teens stumble upon a secret military project? Were they abducted by aliens? Or was it something else entirely? While Phoenix Forgotten provides some answers, it also leaves viewers with plenty of questions, just like the real Phoenix Lights phenomenon did. Overall, the story blends human drama and cosmic horror. It's not just about aliens or conspiracies. It's also about loss, curiosity, and the dangerous pull of the unknown. If you've ever been fascinated by unsolved mysteries or unexplained events like I have, then this film taps into that same sense of wonder and fear. In a world where everyone was stuck on Zoom calls and baking bread in 2020, Rob Savage came in hot with Host, a tight and terrifying horror experience that hit way too close to home. The premise is simple. 6 friends, bored and stuck in quarantine, decide to hold a seance over Zoom because, why not tempt fate? They bring in a medium guy to the experience, but as soon as one participant makes light of the ritual, things take a dark and dangerous turn. Spoiler alert, you might never want to open Zoom again after watching this. Let's face it, pandemic movies can be a bit of a gamble, and the thought of sitting through a movie entirely on Zoom sounds like it could get tedious fast, but Host is a masterclass of pacing and suspense. The plan is simple: connect with spirits for a bit of spooky fun to kill time during quarantine. At first, The call is filled with lighthearted jokes and skepticism, with everyone treating this as harmless entertainment, but boy oh boy do they mess around and find out. This playful prank opens up the door to some malevolent shit. One by one, the friends experience terrifying paranormal events, objects moving on their own, strange sounds echoing through empty rooms, and unseen forces begin to manifest. As the situation spirals out of control, the friends become trapped in their own homes, separated yet still connected by the Zoom call. With nowhere to run and time running out, they must find a way to break the curse before the entity claims them all. So at just 57 minutes, Host is concise but impactful. There is no downtime. Once the terror begins, it does not let up. By the end, you'll be left catching your breath and nervously checking your surroundings.
Emma, turn the filters off. Come on.
Look, if you're in the mood for a creepy, slow burn, found footage horror movie that'll make you side-eye churches for a while, then Final Prayer, also known as the Borderlands, is a must-watch. So we get this skeptical Vatican investigation team who is dispatched to a remote church in the English countryside after reports of unexplained supernatural activity. It's the kind of quiet and ancient place that seems frozen in time, with creaky pews, shadowy corners, and an unsettling stillness hanging in the air. What should have been a routine case of disproving superstitious claims soon turns into a descent into something far darker and more terrifying. The Deacon is a veteran investigator who's haunted by past failures. He leads the team with a skeptical and hard-edged outlook. He's partnered with Gray, a technician who brings cameras and a bit of humor to the mix, along with Father Mark, a priest whose faith becomes increasingly strained as the events unfold. Their task seems simple enough: debunk the supposed miracles and strange noises reported by the church. But from the very start, the church refuses to play by the rules. You have inexplicable noises, objects moving on their own, and a series of disturbing events that defy logical explanation. As the team digs into the history of the site, they uncover clues pointing to an ancient malevolent force deeply tied to the church's foundation, something older and more dangerous than any of them had anticipated. There's a sense of escalating dread as the investigators realize they're not just going up against any ghost. The deeper they go, both literally and metaphorically, the more they begin to unravel spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. The line between the rational and the inexplicable blurs, and by the time the final act arrives, the team faces a terrifying truth. Some shit is just better left undisturbed. Final Prayer isn't just a horror movie, it's a meditation on faith, doubt, and the unseen forces that haunt the world's oldest places. This movie delivers a hell of a good time and maybe a few nightmares, so proceed with caution.
Has returned.
Alright, horror fans, if you enjoyed this video, do not forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel out. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to subscribe for more horror movie reviews, breakdowns, and recommendations. Oh, and what's your favorite found footage horror movie? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear some of your recommendations. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay spooky.